Professional wrestling has always been about good versus evil. Feuds and characters and stories are created under this art form of violence and acrobatics with spectacular moves, actions, words, and crowd connections. A lot of these stories are made up, usually between two people over something that gives them a reason to fight, whether that's competing for a championship, money, fame, glory, power, respect, being the best, over a man or a woman, over property rights, or even over the custody of a 10-year-old child. Professional wrestling has this unique ability to tell really amazing and incredible stories, sometimes in the most ridiculous ways possible, and somehow gets people invested into what's going on. On rare occasions, some stories intertwine with those in real life, creating a very interesting dynamic when it comes to telling a story between these two characters. You see a lot of that on mainstream wrestling TV shows such as with WWE, AEW, and Impact Wrestling, for example. These shows do tell different types of stories, some good and some, well, The point is that for these shows, there is only a restricted amount of time for them to tell that story, and a lot of factors have to vary in order for that story to be given time to be told in a proper and sophisticated way that makes people care enough to want to tune in each and every week. This is why I feel that independent wrestling has a distinct advantage over its mainstream competitors. It's because they are given enough time to space things out and give these characters motivations and reasons as to why they are doing what they are specifically doing. Today, I want to talk about one of those stories, because even something as silly as professional wrestling can bring out a lot of emotion in people when a story clicks as well as it does. However, the story I'm going to tell you all is not a very happy one. As a matter of fact, it's pretty heartbreaking for everyone involved. It's a tale of two men who strive to achieve the same goals and aspirations, only for the both of them to turn into monsters in the end. It's a story of former friendship gone sour, and the wedge between them that led to all of the chaos that ensued because of their actions. It's a fictional story that crosses way too deep into reality. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the tragic story of Jordan Devlin and David Starr. Before we get into Jordan and David's story together, I want to provide the setting of where this all takes place. Over the Top Wrestling is an organization that is located in Dublin, Ireland, and founded in 2014. It combines a mix of hybrid indie wrestling mixed with comedy and catering towards an adult audience. It brings some of the best talent across Europe and other various promotions, and homegrown some of its talent to the bigger organizations out there. So, in other words, it's basically the European version of PWG. It's also interesting to note that some of the biggest stars in professional wrestling today are also Irish, and a few even dipped their toe into the promotion for a while. Ireland has a promotion that works well for its countrymen and women, and it needs someone that embodies that spirit and will do anything to defend his home promotion. Enter Jordan Devlin, the ace of Irish wrestling, the OTT defender, the import killer. As the first ever OTT champion, Jordan prides himself on being the main guy in the promotion despite his underdog stature. His unbound strength, quickness, determination, technical skills, and heart all help him out on his quest to beating anyone from any outside promotion and defending his turf. He stands alone at the top of the OTT mountain. And then a new face comes along. This is David Starr. Hailing from Philadelphia, he grew up as an amateur wrestler and also worked his way into professional status while also looking like the most normal-shaped guy you'll ever meet. He worked in various other promotions such as Progress, ROH, Evolve, and CZW, just to name a few. He is what I like to call a political wrestler. What I mean by that is that he brings his own personal beliefs into wrestling. And as a member of the Democratic Socialists of America and also being an avid Bernie Sanders supporter, he really brings that philosophy into his character. And while most of his career was played up to being a heel, people out there still respected the fact that he stuck to his beliefs, as well as backed up his mouth with his great in-ring ability. So when David Starr came to OTT, you would think that he would go right after Jordan Devlin's crown, right? Right?
Wrong!
Actually, the exact opposite happened. They became friends. Best friends, as a matter of fact. And together, they formed a tag team to defend their home promotion together as one, against any and all comers. And that's when Walter showed up in OTT. Walter is by far one of the most dominant and intimidating big men in all of professional wrestling. At the time of this recording, he is the current reigning and defending NXT UK champion. He is not only a strong powerhouse wrestler, but also possesses a deep level of respect and admiration for the sport of professional wrestling. Hence his nickname, the Ring General. He's basically the guy that does this a lot. This aggravated David Starr, who fought unsuccessfully against Walter many times in various other independent wrestling promotions around the world. As a matter of fact, David Starr never beat Walter. In the 25 times that he faced Walter, he lost all 25 times, never beating him in one-on-one competition. Sure, he got victories over him in tag team matches, but never was the one himself to pin Walter or make him submit. It also made David angry because Walter was a part of the expansion that the WWE was having in regards to the rising British independent wrestling scene. The WWE has started NXT UK, a sub-branch of its regular NXT programming that airs in the US. The WWE had been rounding up British talent and signing them to contracts that allowed them to work under the WWE banner with NXT UK. David Starr resented this because, for one, it felt as though WWE was trying to kill not only European independent wrestling, but the entirety of independent professional wrestling as a whole. David was also a part of the We the Independent movement, an organization that focuses on labor and unionizing professional wrestling so that its workers, not just the wrestlers themselves, but ring crew, referees, announcers, and many others can all get the same equal medical and efficient benefits as those who work full-time jobs. This is something that John Oliver himself talked about on Last Week Tonight on his segment with the WWE. Whom were heavily criticized for not giving their independent contractors fair benefits, especially when their performers wrestle 3, 4, sometimes even 5 nights a week. And here was this immovable object, this obstacle, Walter, being a part of that machine, looking to take down independent wrestling. And David Starr took that personally. A lot of these points are made and told through these amazing promo packages that are all up on OTT's official YouTube channel, made by a man named Sean Ryan, who is a co-owner of the Crooked Gentleman Video Production Company and the head creative force behind these videos. I absolutely love watching these promo packages because of the way that they are filmed and the subject imagery used to tell the overall narrative within OTT itself. They are completely amazing promo packages, right up there with WWE's hype videos without the need for the high-end budgets to explain the meaning and significance of a match between two people or entities. If you want a more in-depth analysis of why these promo packages are so good, I would highly recommend that you check out Joseph Montesilo's videos about OTT's promo packages. The link to those videos will be down below in the description and it's definitely well worth the watch. Also, Joseph, if you're watching this video, I really hope I pronounced your last name correctly. If I did not, I apologize. I'm just really horrible with names. But anyway, let's move on. As explained in one of the promo packages, Walter pinned Jordan Devlin on his first night with the company in a tag team match with his partner Loki. He then destroyed one of Jordan's other best friends in OTT, Sean Guinness, which forced Jordan to put up his OTT title and put it all on the line against Walter at WrestleRama 2. Walter shocked the OTT audience by capturing the title from Jordan in one of the best matches from that year. The Import Killer was no more, and Walter reigned supreme over his new kingdom. And then came redemption. On November 10th, 2018, a special tag team match was set to take place with OTT champion Walter and his partner Timothy Thatcher of Ringkampf, set to take on Jordan Devlin and his partner for that evening, Will Ospreay. However, Will Ospreay got injured before the event and a substitution was made. Jordan knew that there was only one person that could help him get redemption against the man who took his title from him. The same man who himself was obsessed with finally beating Walter. And that was David Starr. However, David was offended that he wasn't Jordan's first choice, and that his supposed best friend was going to help him defeat Walter. Instead, Jordan Devlin, during the closing moments of that match, puts up a great amount of strength to lift Walter up in the air for a package pile driver. This was it. David sees his moment being taken from him once again. And that leads to the unthinkable happening.
Sliding count 1, 2.
This act by David Starr ruins the friendship between him and Jordan. David feeling betrayed by Jordan for trying to pin Walter on his own, whereas he wanted to be the one to do the job, and he was the one that always had Jordan's back, even through all the times that Jordan let him down. And Jordan feeling betrayed by David because he believed that he had become too obsessed with beating Walter, and that he had ruined their friendship and Jordan's chance to once again become OTT champion by robbing him of his opportunity to beat Walter. Walter was the main focal point for these two, as both men had their own personal reasons for wanting to be the one that finally slays the dragon. An entire friendship was tarnished, all because of each man's obsession with beating Walter. And that led to a one-on-one encounter between the two at OTT's homecoming event as the very first match on the show, because Jordan did not want to wait until the main event of that match to get his hands on David. The two went crazy and tried to literally kill one another. Jordan becoming more infuriated with David when he made his entrance wearing a t-shirt of the two former best friends and engraving the word Díolsach on his trunks, which means loyalty in the Gaelic language. David believing that his loyalty to Jordan led him to nothing, and throwing it all in Jordan's face, who bashed his former friend's skull in with furious strikes of vengeance. Ultimately, Jordan was the one who defeated David, and was the one to move on to face Walter and reclaim his OTT title. And that he did. At Scrapper Mania 5, against all odds, Jordan reclaims his throne as the Import Killer, and once again becomes OTT World Champion, with a disgruntled David Starr watching the celebration from the background. This title victory literally eats away at David, who calls out Jordan on not only his actions from the past, but his current actions of being a hypocrite in David's eyes. Jordan Devlin had at that time recently signed a subcontract to work with NXT UK. David proclaimed that Jordan had betrayed OTT by signing with the big corporate enemy, and that he was the savior of independent wrestling, and wants to prove that by beating Jordan for the OTT championship. Jordan responds by saying that David was a hypocrite himself, when he cost their team in the tag team match against Walter and Timothy Thatcher and let his obsession with beating Walter ruin their friendship. Jordan decides that David can face him one-on-one for the OTT title if, and only if, he can finally overcome his obsession. He has to go through the man that he has never beaten before in his entire career. If David Starr wants a shot at Jordan Devlin for the title, at WrestleRama 3, David becomes the OTT defender, to the mixed reaction of some, as he climbs into the ring to face Walter. It's an intense back and forth match with both men throwing everything at each other. It was the small, independent warrior versus the big, giant corporate monster. It was David Starr's last chance of beating Walter. He could not and would not let this opportunity pass him by. One of the big highlights of the match was David Starr actually stepping on the NXT UK Championship held by Walter, as he calls Walter a sellout. David tries everything to beat Walter, but cannot do it. He is about to fail again. And then, in an act of desperation, with the referee knocked down, David Starr pulls an Eddie Guerrero spot by throwing the title at Walter while the referee is distracted, who catches it as David Starr pretends to have been hit by the title from Walter, which would be a disqualification and give David Starr the win. And that's exactly what the referee does. David's plan works. His desperation and his obsession, it's finally over. He finally overcomes his demons and defeats Walter. He finally has his moment. And then Jordan Devlin rushes out to the ring and tells the referee exactly what happened, forcing the referee to restart the match. David is confused and angry and goes right after Jordan, taking his eyes off the monster Walter, who crushes David with a devastating series of moves to finally finish David off and become 26-0 against him. Jordan took everything from David, who just lays there, heartbroken and tired. He knows that he needs his revenge against Jordan and take everything from him like Jordan just did to him. He eventually works his way back into the title picture and has another shot at his former best friend for the OTT Championship at the 5th year anniversary show for the promotion. The match becomes more than the friendship that was. It becomes more about the fate of independent professional wrestling. More and more people start to believe in David's philosophies and start seeing Jordan as the hypocrite who is being exposed for not only caring about himself instead of being the man that always defended OTT. His own home promotion became David's. He continues to destroy the legacy that Jordan built up in OTT, and when he makes his entrance during the championship bout, he is met with a roaring ovation as he slowly grazes his way into the ring, commanding his people, his followers, to join him in song like a cult leader. And then when Jordan comes out to defend his home promotion, like he's done so many times before, this happens. What? The home promotion of Jordan Devlin turns its back on one of its own, their hometown hero, and they start cheering for the invader. It's such an interesting dynamic from the first match that Jordan and David had, all the way back at the homecoming show, where so much of the crowd was behind Jordan Devlin. And now, the roles are being reversed based on the actions that were happening in real life. They too agree with what David has been preaching about Jordan, how he was now a part of the problem to kill Indy wrestling, and the two have an absolute war with each other in this match. It's one of those matches that paints a blurry picture over who is the good guy and who is the bad guy, who is right and who is wrong. It ends when David Starr hits Jordan with the lariat from hell and pins him to finally become the new OTT champion, as he is surfboarded amongst his followers, becoming the new defender of OTT, and Jordan Devlin quietly leaving the promotion to work full-time for NXT UK. David begins his regime as champion by focusing on the working class people, those who are a part of the ring crew, and bashing anyone who feels that they are not important enough in the wrestling business, despite them being a great part in helping putting together the show by setting up the ring and helping with the lighting and things like that. David defends his new home promotion and with his new followers against the likes of people like Speedball Mike Bailey, Jeff Cobb, and was even going to face at that time the current AEW World Champion JonMoxley at Scrappermania 6 in March of 2020. And then of course the world had to shut down because of a global pandemic, so this match unfortunately never happened. And then George Floyd happened, and basically the world went to all hell. It's all good though. I mean, it's not like there's going to be some huge scandal in the wrestling business while the entire world is shut down. Wait, what? What is this? Oh no, David, what have you done? This is Max Barsky. He is the person who plays the character of David Starr. And in June of 2020, he was accused by his former girlfriend Victoria of emotionally and physically abusing her during their relationship, and then trying to gaslight the entire situation by using old text from 2016 to paint her as this crazy and manipulative person. She's not the only one. Multiple women have come out against Max, as he himself admitted to being manipulative while in these relationships, but at the same time trying to deny the allegations he was facing. It was a huge confrontation on Twitter, while Max, looking like not the greatest person in the world with some of these tweets, and a lot of people disagreed with him too. The man who was once really good at Twitter ended up actually deleting his Twitter account, which, I mean, let's be honest, I don't know about anyone else, but to me that sounds like you're pretty much guilty. But that's just my opinion, so it is what it is, I guess. Many promotions cut ties with Max, including OTT themselves, who ended up stripping him of the OTT championship. But, I mean, again, it's only one guy, and yeah, it looks like Jordan was actually the hero this whole time, so yeah, let's just move on with... Oh, god damn it, Devlin! So, yeah, we need to talk about the speaking out movement. On June 18th, 2020, numerous people inside and outside of professional wrestling accused several wrestlers, promoters, personalities, and journalists of sexual misconduct. The list of people you see here were all accused of sexual misconduct in some form or fashion, with some people, most notably people like Joey Ryan and David Starr, being blacklisted from wrestling altogether. Jordan Devlin's accuser, Hannah Francesca, accused Devlin of physically harming her, and even had photos to prove her side of the story. Devlin responded on Twitter saying that these accusations were completely false against him, and that he was working with a legal team to resolve the matter. It was this incident that really kicked off the speaking out movement, with many people and even some wrestlers themselves coming out to share their stories of sexual abuse. Many promotions on the surface did look like they took action when it came to these matters. For instance, AEW actually fired Jimmy Havoc after he was accused of verbal and emotional abuse towards his partner. Ring of Honor launched an investigation into the Marty Scurll accusations, but he ended up leaving the company earlier this year. WWE fired people like Jack Gallagher from the company, yet somehow kept guys like Matt Riddle and Velveteen Dream. Kinda weird, but okay, whatever. Even Jordan Devlin himself recently appeared on NXT television, so I guess things worked out for him? Or maybe it might have been a cover-up? Who really even knows at this point? Wrestling promotions were finally held accountable for the people that they hire, and some promotions even took further steps to ensure that things like this don't happen again. OTT themselves actually started a program that announced that all OTT management, in-ring talent, and staff now have to receive a GARDA vetting, which entails a background check that's completed by the National Vetting Bureau. The statement OTT made also announced that they have hired Ann O'Brien as the new head talent of relations. She will be the main source of contact for anyone who is having any issues in the company, as well as not hiring or letting anyone wrestle on their shows who were accused of sexual assault in the past until a full investigation has been completed. It is nice to see some promotions like this take action, unlike some other European promotions, and we will have to wait to see whether or not OTT stays to these commitments, but at least they're trying. I really don't want people who are watching this video to come across it and think that wrestling is an evil business to get into. It's definitely not the way it was for the most part back in the old days. And trust me, there are a lot of wonderful people who do work in wrestling. I want to make this video because it's important for me to raise this kind of awareness, not just in professional wrestling, but in any type of work form that people step into. It's just simply not okay for these things to happen, and we should listen to all of the facts and gather up as many details as we can before jumping to a conclusion. It's something that has been taken ever more seriously in these past couple of years, especially with the Me Too movement, because it's just important for all of us to treat each other with respect and dignity instead of like objects. I do hope wrestling continues to get the predators out of here and cleans its act up more for the future. And I hope more people can own up to these mistakes and become better people for it. So all that brings me back to my point in the Jordan Devlin versus David Starr saga. This whole rivalry, this whole great story that is like so many around the world and other various promotions with a lot riding on it, almost feels like it was all for nothing. And it sucks because so many people put so much hard work into crafting this story, only for the actions of these two to ruin it all. Character-wise, it was a story about two men, two former best friends, both with different ideas and philosophies, both with different goals and aspirations, both who end up being wrong in real life in the end. Like I said before, Jordan is still wrestling to this day, although it will be tough for him for years to cleanse himself of the accusations facing him. And for David, or Max, yeah, he's done in professional wrestling. He had so much potential. Oh well. The matches are still up for free on OTT's YouTube channel, and if you can stomach it, I would still recommend you all watch it because the matches were truly that great and played a part into the ultimate tale that was trying to be told. It's just that for me now, looking back on what could have been, you can watch these matches, but knowing what we all know now about these two, it almost feels like an empty void. You see things there, but you don't feel anything because you know what they did was wrong. The whole thing, it all just feels like such a waste. No one is ever going to look back at this story the same. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the tragedy of Jordan Devlin versus David Starr. So I don't want this video to end on a sour or down note because I want to take this time to give more inspiration for people out there. The month of April is also known as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And so I want to use this video, this medium of professional wrestling, as ways to enhance more awareness about sexual assault in the workplace and what we can do to try and make things better. So I have some links down below in the description of this video, and I'll also pin this in the comments section too. These are just some websites that I found across the internet that actually focuses on bringing more awareness to Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and they're really great charities, and I really highly recommend that you go check those out. And I do encourage people to donate and try and make things better for people around you. I think one of the bigger lessons for me while editing this video has been to try and treat people with respect, and not just taking care of yourself, but taking care of the people who are around you. And yeah, I hope I did a good job with bringing more awareness to this topic. Thank you guys again for taking the time to watch this. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you, you are a real one, and I really appreciate your time. Until next time, you guys, please stay safe out there, have a great rest of your day, and again, like I said, just please take care of each other out there. It's really important to do so. And that's all I have to say about that, so take care everyone, and peace.